Have you ever truly considered the food on your plate? It is more than just fuel for your body. It is more than a simple meal to satisfy your hunger. Every bite you take is a connection to a long and complex history. The ingredients in your dinner have traveled across continents through centuries. They carry stories of exploration, conflict, and innovation. Food has been at the center of human existence since the very beginning. It has been a powerful force, shaping the world in ways we often overlook. This is the story of how what we eat has built empires and defined who we are today. Think about a simple loaf of bread, a bowl of rice. These common foods seem ordinary to us now, yet their journey to our tables is extraordinary. They represent a revolution that changed everything for humanity. The desire for spices once launched fleets of ships across uncharted oceans. The demand for sugar created vast fortunes and fueled immense suffering. Even something as basic as salt was once as valuable as gold, a currency that paid soldiers and built cities. The history of food is a grand, sweeping epic, full of adventure and discovery. It is the hidden story behind the rise and fall of great civilizations. This essay will explore this incredible journey. We will start at the very beginning, with the dawn of agriculture. Then we will investigate how certain foods became symbols of power and wealth. Dive into the deep connection between food and our cultural identity. And finally, look at our modern food system and the challenges we face. Imagine a world without farms. Imagine a world without cities, or even permanent villages. For most of human history, this was our reality. Our ancestors were nomads, constantly moving in search of things to eat. They were hunters and gatherers, lives tied to seasons and migrating animals. Their existence was a daily struggle for survival. They could only own what they could carry. Everything was about to change because of a few small, unassuming seeds. The Great Transformation began around 10,000 years ago. In different parts of the world, people made a remarkable discovery. They learned that they could plant seeds in the ground and grow their own food. This invention was agriculture, the single most important event in human history. In the Fertile Crescent, people began cultivating wheat and barley. In Asia, farmers started planting rice in flooded paddies. And in the Americas, maize became the foundation of life. This shift from hunting and gathering to farming was not just a new way to get food. It was the beginning of a new way to live. Farming allowed people to stay in one place for the first time. They no longer had to wander in search of their next meal. They could build permanent homes and create villages. For the first time, humans could produce more food than they immediately needed. This surplus was a game changer. It meant that not everyone had to be a farmer. Some people could become artisans, priests, soldiers, or leaders. This division of labor led to the development of complex societies. Towns grew into cities, and humanity was on the path toward building civilizations and empires. With a more stable food supply, the human population began to grow rapidly. The surplus food needed to be stored, managed, and protected. This led to new technologies, like pottery for storage and irrigation for watering crops. All of this, the world we know today, was built on the simple act of planting a seed in the ground. The story of food is truly the story of us. As civilizations grew, so did their appetites. With basic survival secured by grains, a new desire emerged for foods that offered something more: intense flavor, exotic aromas, a touch of the divine. Spices like pepper, cloves, nutmeg, and cinnamon. Originating in faraway lands like the Spice Islands of Indonesia and the coasts of India. Their journey to the markets of Rome, Persia, and later Europe was long and perilous. This scarcity made them symbols of immense wealth and power, reserved for the richest elites who could afford their astronomical prices. A pinch of black pepper was more than a culinary flourish. It was a display of status. The control of the spice trade routes became a major geopolitical objective. For centuries, Arab and Venetian merchants held a tight monopoly, growing fabulously wealthy. This monopoly fueled an obsession in Europe. By the 15th century, European kingdoms were desperate to find a direct sea route to the spice-producing lands of the East. This quest for spice became the primary driver for the Age of Discovery. It was the irresistible allure of flavor that launched the ships that would ultimately connect the entire globe. The consequences of this search were world-altering. The pursuit of these tiny, fragrant commodities led to conquest, colonization, and the dawn of a new global economy built on naval power. While spices drove exploration to the east, another commodity created a brutal and profitable new economy in the west: sugar. The production of sugar was incredibly labor-intensive. European colonists first tried to force the indigenous populations to do this backbreaking work, but disease and brutal conditions quickly decimated their numbers. To satisfy the insatiable demand for labor, European powers turned to Africa. This began the transatlantic slave trade, one of the darkest chapters in human history. Over centuries, millions of African men, women, and children were forcibly captured, chained, and shipped across the Atlantic to toil and die on sugar plantations. The sugar economy created a triangular trade route that connected 3 continents. As sugar production soared, its price dropped, and what was once a luxury for kings became a staple for the common person. It provided a cheap source of calories for the growing industrial working class in Europe, fueling the factories of the Industrial Revolution. The simple sweetness that we now take for granted has a bitter history. A story of how a single crop could build empires, concentrate wealth, and inflict misery on a global scale. Even the most basic substance, salt, helped build states and finance armies. Long before refrigeration, salt was the world's most important preservative. It allowed meat and fish to be stored for long journeys, turning salt into a strategic military resource. Roman soldiers were famously paid part of their wages in salt, the salarium, the origin of the word salary. Governments taxed salt heavily to raise revenue. Mahatma Gandhi's 1930 Salt March was civil disobedience against the British salt tax, showing salt's power as a symbol of colonial control. The global trade in food commodities fundamentally rewired the world, sparking profound cultural and ecological changes in what is often called the Columbian Exchange. Food is much more than just a source of energy or a commodity for trade. It is deeply personal and woven into the fabric of our identity. The flavors and aromas we grow up with become a fundamental part of who we are. These are the flavors of home. Around the world, certain staple foods form the core of a region's identity. These staple foods are cultural anchors. The simple act of a family sharing a meal together reinforces bonds. The foods we eat in these moments become charged with meaning. Even when people move far away from their homelands, food remains one of the most powerful links to their roots. Immigrants often go to great lengths to find the ingredients they need to recreate the dishes of their childhood. These places become more than just businesses, they are vital community hubs. Every family has them. These are the family recipes, the culinary heirlooms that travel through generations. They are living pieces of family history. When a mother teaches her child how to fold a dumpling, she is doing more than teaching a cooking skill. She is transmitting a piece of their shared identity. Food plays a central role in marking the most important moments of our lives. From birth to death, major life events are celebrated and commemorated with special meals. Religion has also profoundly shaped what people eat and when they eat it. These food rules are not arbitrary. They serve to strengthen religious identity and community. The religious calendar is often structured around cycles of fasting and feasting. These periods of denial make the feasts that follow even more meaningful. These practices show how food and drink can become powerful vehicles for expressing the deepest spiritual ideas of a culture. Today, we are living in the era of the ultimate global kitchen. Thanks to modern transportation and global supply chains, our food choices are no longer limited by geography or season. This mixing of culinary traditions has led to the rise of fusion cuisine, where chefs creatively blend ingredients and cooking techniques from different cultures. However, this blending also raises questions. As fast food chains and processed food brands spread across the planet, they often displace traditional ways of eating. In response to this, there is a growing movement to protect and celebrate food identity. Our food choices are not just personal, they are a vote for the kind of food world we want to live in. Welcome to the age of the industrial food system. Over the past century, a dramatic revolution has transformed how our food is produced, processed, and distributed. This system is built on the principles of industrial efficiency, specialization, mechanization, and economies of scale. This approach was designed with a clear goal in mind: to produce the largest possible quantity of food at the lowest possible cost. It is a system that has successfully fed a rapidly growing global population and delivered a level of food security that was once unimaginable. However, this efficiency has come at a significant cost. The reliance on monocultures has led to a staggering loss of biodiversity. Where thousands of varieties of apples and potatoes once grew, we now rely on just a handful of commercially viable types. The very foundation of our food system, healthy soil and clean water, is being put under immense strain. Our food often travels thousands of miles before it reaches our plates, a journey that consumes vast amounts of fossil fuels and contributes to climate change. To withstand the rigors of long-distance shipping, fruits and vegetables are bred for durability, not for flavor or nutritional value. This means that whether you are in Tokyo, London, or Los Angeles, the selection of produce can look strikingly similar, a homogenization of what we eat. This system has also concentrated immense power in the hands of a few giant corporations that control huge portions of the global food supply. Moreover, the global food system is not equally accessible to everyone. This unequal access to good food is a major driver of health disparities. In response to the challenges of the industrial food system, a powerful counter-movement is growing. It is a search for a system that can feed us well without destroying the natural resources on which we all depend. Farmers' markets are booming, connecting consumers directly with the people who grow their food. This direct relationship builds trust and allows farmers to get a fairer price for their labor. Community-supported agriculture programs and a dietary shift towards eating more plants are key parts of the solution. Reducing food waste is another critical component. Our choices in the kitchen and at the checkout counter are powerful votes for the kind of food system we want to support. From the first cultivated grain in the Fertile Crescent to the global supermarket of today, the story of humanity is inextricably linked to the story of food. The food on your plate tonight is more than a meal. It is the culmination of this sprawling history. Every ingredient carries a legacy of land, labor, and innovation. The potato connects you to the Andes, the rice to the river valleys of Asia, the pepper to the trade winds of the Age of Discovery. This history lives within us. Our daily choices matter. They are a vote for the future of food, health, and planet. As you sit to your next meal, remember, you are participating in the epic. You are tasting history itself. Your fork holds not just food, but connection to thousands of years of struggle and ingenuity. Every bite carries a story thousands of years in the making. Subscribe to Kendu Global Files for more 20-minute documentaries that uncover the hidden history behind everyday life.